Okay, solving for x, we have equations with radicals. Today's not going to be too hard, okay? So what you need to do first is know what kind of a radical you have. Now you want to either circle that or put it in a parentheses something. I would recommend you circle it, okay? Now I'm going to make kind of a wall or a line on the side of the equation where the radical's at, okay? Now, what do you have outside the radical? You have a 3. The operation's a plus, so we have to get rid of that with a minus 3. Okay? Then I will be able to get rid of my radical. If the radical is 2, I will get rid of it with a 2 power. Okay? You want to write that. Okay? So now I have a game plan. I'm going to subtract 3, and that gives me 5. And then I have radical 2 over 2x minus 3. Now I have minus 3. Now, when I take both sides of the 2 power, this is what I do. I put a parentheses around both sides, and I just raise each side to the power of 2. Now, radical 2 and a power of 2 cancel each other out, and I have the expression 2x minus 3. And over here, 5 to the second power, it's 5 times 5, 5 caret 2, whatever, it's 25. Now it's just a normal equation, okay? We just have x to the first power, so I'm just going to use linear properties to solve it. You don't have to write that, I'm just explaining. Linear properties is when I get the x by itself. I get rid of I plus 3 and divide by 2. So 2x equals 28. That divide by 2, you get 14. Because tomorrow you won't be using linear properties, you'll be using factoring properties, and you'll see why. But if I get rid of the radical and I just have x and evaluate the other side and I have x of first power. Now, if you want to, okay, you obviously, a lot of you aren't going to do this, and that's fine. I'm not going to hate on you. You don't have to write this. You could put that 14 in for x. So you got 2 times 14 minus 3 plus 3 equals 8. And you can verify your solution. 2 times 14 is 28. 28 minus 3 is 25. But the square root of 25 is 5 plus 3 equals 8. And 8 equals 8. And that's going to work. That's how you can verify your solutions. I'm not going to do that on every time because it'll take too long in the video. Okay, next one, the radical is at 2, circle it, and put a wall on the side of the radical. Now you have this number outside, it's a minus 3, so we're going to get rid of that with a plus 3. And after the plus 3, we will raise each side to the power of 2 power. So I add 3, and that would take me to 5. And then I have radical 2 over 4x minus 23. Now we do the 2 power to get rid of the radical. Because a 2 power and a radical 2 cancel out. That's the inverse operation of a radical degree is a power. So 4x minus 23 and 5 to the power of 2 is 25. Again, we just have x to the first power, so that would only be one solution. And since all we have is x to the first power, we apply linear properties. That's when I get rid of the operations with the x. So you're going to add 23. That takes you to 48. So 4x equals 48. Then you divide each side of the equation by 4. And 48 divided by 4 is 12. Okay, this goes pretty quick once you get the hang of it. Okay, 5, radical 2, and we just have x, remember, circle just the radical, and then plus 7 equals 8. Now we have two operations outside the radical. We have 5 doesn't have a sign between the 5 and the radical, so you put a times dot, okay? So you got 5 times 5 and plus 7. You get rid of your minus or plus first. You're going to minus 7 first. Then I need to divide by 5. Remember, there's two operations, so before we do the power, we have to do two things. Then we have a radical 2, then I'll be able to do my 2 power. Okay. So again, you want to get rid of your plus minus operation first, and then divide. So we'll minus 7, that will take that side to 1. Then you're going to divide each side by 5. That cancels that out. You have your radical 2 over x. Now you can leave that the fraction 1/5, or you can put the decimal 0.2, whatever you like better. Okay, I'll leave it 1/5, but if somebody wants to put 0.2, that's fine. Then we take each side to the 2 power. So I have x, and then it's just 1 to the second, which is 1. 5 to the second is 25. So it'd be 1/25. If you just did a decimal, you'd end up with 0.04, which is 1 over 25 as a decimal. Okay, fraction decimal, I don't care. Okay, next one. Put a 2, circle your radical, and you have 2 operations outside the radical. Okay, you're going to put a times dot there. Okay, that's not -2. Between the 2 and the radical, it would be a times dot. And then between the radical and the 5 is a plus sign. So we undo the plus and minus first. So we're going to -5. Then we're going to divide by the coefficient of -2. And then we're going to get rid of our root with a 2 power. So -5. 3 minus 5 is -2. So we have -2 times radical 2 over x. Then we divide each side by -2. So you have radical 2 over x. -2 divided by -2 is +1. Then I raise both sides to the 2 power. Okay, again, x is, you just have x to the first. X equals 1 to the second's 1, and you pretty much have your answer. Okay, you don't really have to decide on what properties you're going to use because all you have is x. Okay, next problem. If you have a negative in front of a radical, you're going to want to apply a 1 coefficient, okay? Because that's a deal. So circle the radical. This time it's a cubed root. It's a degree 3. So again, we have 2 numbers outside. We got a -1 in the radical, would be a multiplication operation, and then +3. So we get rid of the +3 with a -3. And we get rid of the times -1, which is with a divide by -1. Then we will not do the 2 power, we will be doing the 3 power, because it's a cubed root, okay? So I minus my 3. 0 minus 3 is -3. Then I divide by my -1. That's going to be 3. Radical 3 over x equals 3. Now we do a 3 power, not a 2 power, because it's a cubed root. Okay, so 3 to the power of 3, okay, it's 27. 3 times 3 times 3, and you have your answer, okay. Okay, next problem. 3, the radical is at 2 again. So, have this 3 in front of the radical, that indicates a multiplication. I do not have anything out, that's the only operation I have outside the radical, okay? Remember, I don't worry about the operation inside the radical. When I'm listing out what I'm going to do, I need to divide by 3. Remember, +2 is inside the radical. I don't worry about that when I'm listing this. So I'll divide by 3, and then that's the only operation I have outside the radical. So I have a square root, this time a 2 root, so I do a 2 power. So I have to divide by 3 first. So that is 2, and we have the square root of x plus 2. Now 2 power each side. So the 2 and the 2 cancel out, and I have the expression x plus 2. 2 to the second power is 4. Okay, so x is going to have one answer, because after I get rid of the radical, I just have x to the first power, and that involves me using linear properties. So in linear properties, we just get rid of the +2 with a -2, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay, 2 more. Okay, next one. It's a two radicals, so circle the radical. Outside the radical you have a -3, so that's a +3 to get rid of that. You don't have any multiplication in front. And then we will do a 2 power. So +3, +3, 10 plus 3 is 13. Radical 2 over 4x plus 7. Then you take both sides to the 2 power. So 4x plus 7, 13. It's not 26. You got to take 13 caret 2, or 13 times 13. It's 169. Okay, so all we have is x to the first power, which means all I have to do is use linear properties to solve the rest of the equation. Okay, so -7, that takes you to 162. Then I divide each side of my equation by 4. I think this is a decimal, I know it is, but that's okay. 40.5. Okay, then in my final problem, there are two radicals, doesn't matter, okay? Just circle both of them. Now, I do not have any operations outside of the radical, okay? Outside of either radical, so I go right to a 2 power, okay? So, this isn't as hard as it's going to look, okay? Because the 2's and the 2's cancel out, and on this side we just write down 2x, and on this side we write x plus 5. Okay, now, x is only, I know there's two x's, but they're both to the power of 1, okay? So there's only one answer, so we use linear properties. Now before we use linear properties, we have to subtract one of the x's. We'll get rid of the 1x, and that's going to make 1x equals 5. And now you can apply, you can divide by 1, but it's just going to be 5. Okay. And the reason why that is true, because 2 times 5 is 10. Now the square root of 10 is irrational, but 5 plus 5 would also be 10. So you'd have square root of 10, square root of 10. Those are equal.